Hello and welcome to tonight's episode of Tarot by Hilary Live. I am your host, Hilary of tarotbyhilary.com. There is my website that right down there. If you would like to schedule a reading with me, I am a professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and connecting you to your intuition because, yes, my friend, you have intuition. I believe everyone has intuition. So bear with me. I am a little bit late for tonight's episode. It has been a rough week, folks. And I'm hearing it from all over the place. People are like, what the heck is going on with this week? And so I'm going to start the episode with a little bit of an astro update for you guys, just so you know why the heck it's been so crazy. Devon is here. Hello, Devon, my beautiful tarot students. Hello. This episode, by the way, is going to be relatively quick. I know I start out by saying that almost every episode, and almost every episode is usually an hour in length, but I'm serious this time because I am in the midst of teaching my wonderful tarot intuitive students. That is my signature chorus that happens through the month of February and the first week in March every year. And we are on the second year of the Tarot Intuitive Chorus. And so we have returning students from last year, and we have a couple new students for this year. And they're doing so great. So we're really getting into depth on the structure of the tarot this week, because I mean, you got to learn the rules before you make them your own or bend them or break them or what have you. So that's my style of teaching anyway. So my friends, hi Katie. Let's give a little wavy wave to Katie. So the astro stuff for this week. So this week has been particularly crazy for me. And I'm fairly certain that it's been crazy for you too. A lot of people have been reporting that to me. So let me give you a little bit of the astro update from my forever on my ass business mentor, Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. Not only is she a tarot reader, but she is also a wonderful astrologer as well. And as always, I want to remind people that I am not an astrologer. I am primarily a tarot reader, but I do have a little bit of knowledge about astrology. And I've been buying a lot of astrology books lately. Actually, the one that I most recently bought was Jessica Len Du's book on astrology and real relationships. It's actually underneath my laptop right now, so I can't show it to you right now. So Katie's mentioning one of her big bad tarot cards. So we are going to get into that for this week's episode. We're talking about the big bad wolf, the big baddies of the tarot deck, and how to make them a little bit more manageable. So Katie's already chimed in with hers and her trouble understanding it. So let's work on that. So I've got you, girl. And Devon is also mentioning, yeah, it's been really insane this week. So let me go ahead and pull up my AstroBiz Digest. So I subscribe to the AstroBiz Digest from Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. And it is a yearly subscription where you get in your inbox an overview, an astrological overview for the month. And then each week she sends out a forecast for the week, like what's going on in the stars each day and how that will affect you astrologically. So the AstroBiz Digest is primarily for business owners, metaphysical business owners, regular business owners. So it does have a businessy entrepreneurial slant to its forecasts, but I've been really finding them helpful. So like I've been subscribed to that for about gosh, I think as soon as she released it. I think it's been 3 years now. So if you're interested in that and you want these kind of forecasts directly to your inbox, go ahead and subscribe to Teresa Reed's AstroBiz forecast, or AstroBiz Digest. So that is where I'm getting this information from. And I'm only going to give you a brief taste because otherwise it is unfair for you to hear the whole thing if you are not a subscriber. That's not Christmassy. Give me a second because my email is loading very slowly. So let me look. Where's my AstroBizes? I have them color-coded in my inbox. And so she primarily sends them out on Sunday ahead of the work week, which is super, super helpful. So now I'm kind of looking to see, where the heck is it? Uh-oh. Guess I'll have to just look in my labels to find it. Bear with me, guys. And that's another thing that I'm going to be talking about. We are right now in the Mercury in retrograde shadow period. And so we are starting to feel those effects in the shadow period, similar to how we would feel the effects when Mercury is actually retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde, I believe, on February 16th. And it is retrograde for about 2 to 3 weeks, I think. So I'll give you that information too. Yeah. And that's also in Teresa's AstroBiz Digest. 2 weeks away from the Mercury retrograde. Back up your computers. Purchase tech gear before the retrograde. Sign contracts this week if possible. Plan for delays. Slow down. And above all, think before you speak, tweet, or hit send. And if you want more tips on how to effectively work with the Mercury in retrograde, we do have our newest episode of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast is available. The 3rd episode is all about Mercury and Gatorade, aka Mercury in retrograde. So you can find Card Slingers Coast to Coast wherever you subscribe to your podcasts. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and you can find all of our show notes at Podbean. That's where we go through. So let me actually pull that up for you guys so you can go to that link when we're done tonight. cardslingerscc.podbean.com. And episode 3 is Mercury in Gatorade. So Jamie and Melissa and I give our tips and tricks on how to work through the Mercury retrograde effectively and be kind in your communication, back up your hard drives, go slowly, all that jazz. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that into the comments. So Dina's here. Hi, Dina. Devon says, it's awesome. Love to listen to you guys. Thank you, Devon. We love doing that. It's so much fun. Like literally, we decided to do the podcast just because we like talking to each other. So it's basically if you get that feeling of like being in the same room with us as you listen to the episode, like it's intentional. And we're obviously in different places in the country. That's why we're called Card Slingers Coast to Coast. We are literally coast to coast. Jamie's out in Portland. Melissa's in St. Louis, and I'm here in New York on the East Coast. Yes, they are on the Stitcher podcast app. Yes, we are everywhere, everywhere that you get your podcasts. We were very intentional about that because some people subscribe to podcasts in different ways, so we want to be accessible. But yeah, if you get that feeling that you're like sitting in the same room as us, just chatting about weird, witchy, esoteric topics, it's intentional. And that's what we feel like. It's like literally let's just hit the record and riff on a topic of our choosing and see how it goes. And fortunately, our audio engineer that helps us with the episodes doesn't have to do a lot of work when she's working on that. So it's nice all around. It's so much fun. And then we listen to the episode right before we put it up live just to make sure it gets our final approval. And I'm just like, okay, this is my favorite episode. No, I take it back. This is my favorite episode. No, this one. So yeah, we really enjoy doing it, and we so appreciate the love and the nice reviews. So make sure to give us some love on there. So we can keep doing it. But yeah, if you are wondering how to work with the Mercury in retrograde effectively, we are in the shadow time of it right now, which sometimes can be just as bad or worse. So back up your computers, speak kindly, think things through before talking. Not to mention this, like, I don't think I mentioned it in the episode, but sometimes accidents happen during Mercury in retrograde. Like sometimes it's like a klutzy kind of thing, and then you end up breaking your arm or stubbing your toe or, skinning your knee. So just be careful, like as you're walking in the world, be intentional with what you're doing, like don't be in autopilot mode when you're crossing the street or when you're driving your car. Remember to be intentional and present as well. That's another tip about working with Mercury in retrograde energy. But, life in general, it's always better to be present and, tuned in instead of tuned out or on autopilot. So that's Mercury in retrograde. Go ahead and check out those episodes. And we do have in the show notes the times of when Mercury is in retrograde for 2020. And that's the reason why we chose to post that episode at the beginning of February, knowing that we were about to enter our first Mercury retrograde of 2020. So we're very intentional with the scheduling of that particular episode. So Mercury in retrograde, Mercury in retrograde, Mercury in retrograde. So today, I think the moon was void of chorus for a lot of the day, or it still is void of chorus. So let me look this up. This is again from Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady, from her beautiful, wonderful Astro Biz Digest. And you can also gift that for a friend too. If you're looking for gifts for like Valentine's Day, for example, you can gift a subscription to somebody else. So actually, let me go to Teresa's website just to make sure I'm giving you the right address in case you do want to sign up for the Astro Biz Digest as well. It's pretty groovy. I really enjoy it, and this is coming from her. Dina says, thank you. Thanks for the reminders. Gotcha. That's what I'm here for, right? Okay, so for today, this week has been all over the place, like I was saying. Like at the beginning of the week, the moon entered Gemini, and the moon was in Gemini for Monday and Tuesday. So there was a lot of outreach, communication, and writing. And actually, my natal moon is in Gemini, so I was feeling like Monday was pretty rocking until it all, kind of came apart a little bit. So yeah, and then the moon Neptune squared on Tuesday afternoon brought hazy communications, creative blocks, and needy folks. And then I felt like it just continued. It was just a lot of stuff. Wednesday, the moon entered Cancer in the afternoon again. Like definitely the afternoons more so than the mornings. The afternoons seem to get a little bit out of hand. So moon entered Cancer at 2:03 p.m. on Wednesday, putting sensitive vibe into Wednesday and Thursday. People were touchy. News could be emotional. There were some, good astrological points, but more bad than good. But today, Today, moon opposite. The day began with the tough opposition between the moon and Pluto at 7:02 a.m. And by the way, all these times are Eastern Standard Time, which makes it really easy for me because I am in the Eastern Standard Time zone. So that was power struggles, wannabe dictators, show up in your business or on the world stage, keep business boundaries high if you want to avoid getting pushed around. Definitely felt that this morning. Then the moon was void of chorus at 10:43 a.m. So that's good for keeping projects in motion that are already in motion, but not starting anything new. Because usually things started new in a moon void of chorus period tends to fizzle out or like not get any traction or go anywhere. Then Venus entered Aries at 3:02 p.m. So bold approach to public relations for the next few weeks. So Venus in Aries, and actually Venus in Aries is also, I have a natal Venus in Aries. So hopefully that turns things around for me personally. Moon in dramatic Leo at 5:45 p.m. casts a creative spell over the next few days. So it feels like things are getting a little bit better in this evening, but then shut things down 10:43 tonight when the moon squares Uranus. That brings out egomaniacs, people who want exceptions to the rules, etc. You might as well just go to sleep. And as always, I will bring you the weekend forecast. This time I'm going to give you a one-card reading from the Moonology Oracle cards, because I believe it's a full moon this weekend. Now, full moon, the effect can be felt the 3 days before, the day of, and 3 days after. So we were definitely in that window as well. So not only are we in the Mercury in retrograde shadow period, we are also in the influence of a full moon. So super, super crazy all around. So thank you for bearing with me during the astro forecast or the astro weather updates. And I hope that helps you. So just keep in mind, be very chill. I mean, like I was saying, I wasn't going to have a long episode, but we're already 17 minutes in and I haven't even gotten to the real topic of tonight's episode. So, whatever. We'll see how it goes. But I do have to have a hard stop at 7:30 so I can prepare for my class for my tarot intuitive students at 8 p.m. So got to stop at 7:30. I am keeping an eye on the time so I can bring you this information and you can get on with your weekend as well as me. So tonight's topic is all about the big baddie cards of the tarot. So Katie's already done me a favor and let me know and let us know the problem card that she has is the Chariot. Chariot's the card I have struggled to get a feel for. So let me provide you. So this is the reason why I like using Be Live. So this is like the cute background that I have, and also being able to pull up the comments. That is a feature of Be Live, which is a paid third-party app for broadcasting live to either Facebook or YouTube, I believe. And I love it, and it makes me look really, really professional. If you don't agree, you're crazy. But here's the reason I really, really like it. So where are my cards? I swear I put the Major Arcana here. Did I not? Oh. Uh-oh. All right, I might have to find the Chariot card before posting it. Let me give you some information first about this software. So in case you want to use it or try it out for free, I think for a little while. There are different levels of subscriptions. Here is all that information. So watch. Look! So I've been using Be Live for 162 days. I've done 30 broadcasts. This is crazy. 493 comments. What? So you can find the link in the original post description for this episode, I believe, hopefully. And if you can't, I'll post it again. Just let me know if you want the referral link to try it out. I really like this stuff. But the reason why I like it, not just for the cute little backgrounds or whatever, or putting people's comments, is for this reason. And let me find the Chariot card for you. You're gonna have to give me a moment here. So and if you guys can do me a favor and got it. Okay. If you guys can do me a favor, if you have big bad cards that you have trouble understanding, go ahead and shout them out in the comments, and we can all look at them together. So, all right. Let me show you. So, downloads. So, check out the Chariot. So isn't that cool? I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. And we can do it this way too, or we can do it this way or this way. I prefer this way so that you can really see the Chariot. But yeah, so let me pull up Katie's comment here. So Katie is saying that the Chariot is the card that she struggles to get a feel for. Katie, if you want to go ahead and maybe say why you might be feeling difficulty. Is it a lack of connection? Do you just not understand how it relates to maybe the question that you asked, or if it comes up in a reading, how to interpret it? What in specific is making you feel like you don't have this connection to the Chariot card? Now, I have in my mind, when I talk about the big bad cards of the tarot, I'm usually talking about the ones that scare people, and not necessarily scare people because of their interpretation, but scare people because on the surface they seem like terrible cards to get in a reading. And I mean, sometimes you're not going to get a great card every single time, every single reading. With the sweets come the sour. Life isn't all pretty and positive. Sometimes there are some very difficult moments in life, and tarot is supposed to be a reflection of that life's journey. So there are ups, there are downs. I mean, heck, we do have the Wheel of Fortune card to show that cycle, those ups, those downs, So Katie says, all of what you just said, I don't know how to interpret it within the reading. I can't work out what to say to explain it in the reading. Okay, so let's troubleshoot this a little bit. I don't necessarily, I'm not going to guarantee that I can necessarily help completely, but I can give you some tips and tricks for the next time the Chariot might come up in a reading in order to help out. So for one thing, yeah, let me take that down. let me take down my pretty overlay for a second here, just so we can look at the chariot fully, and that, the little stars and cuteness isn't blocking out the chariot and its meaning. So when I see a card that I'm struggling to read, and I do talk about this in the Tarot Intuitive Chorus. So if you're a student of mine and you're in here watching, you're gonna, this is gonna sound familiar to you. This is funny. Katie says, by the way, death and lovers cards I'm good with. Yeah. Sometimes it's not the most obvious cards that are the cards that we have trouble with. So we'll get to that. But the chariot card, when you're having trouble with these cards, and if the chariot card is something that you understand already, just like bear with me, but take these tips and tricks and apply them to another card that you are struggling with. So my tarot students know that basically when I sold the course to them and when I was doing my research about like what people want to learn, how people learn best, I realized that for a lot of people, memorization doesn't work. I mean, if you're a person that can memorize stuff and you can memorize all 78 cards and what they all mean in every single possible situation, fine, that's great. That's good for you. I'm not that kind of person, and most people aren't. But what I do say to my students, and I do, is to look at the card and just say out loud what you're seeing in the card, and then apply it to your situation. And I know it sounds very simple and it's just like, Hilary, yeah, okay, easier said than done. But I've done this myself, and it's really helped me to understand the tarot better, and also understand how when you memorize meanings, you kind of then, I guess, take the magic out of the equation and almost have this very like separate feeling from the tarot, because you feel like it's rote instead of being like a living thing that you're working with. And that's how I read tarot. I try and read tarot fresh every single time, every single reading. Yes, when I see the chariot, the keywords start to come rolling, but that's only based on my work being a tarot reader for the past 15 to 20 years, and kind of having this filing cabinet of a few times that the chariot has come up in a reading, and it's significant or unusual enough to remember that card and that card's strange interpretation as applicable to that context of the reading. But that comes with time, and it comes with experience. But so I'll have those keywords surfacing, but I'm not using those keywords necessarily to provide the interpretation that I'm giving. I'm looking at the symbols that are popping out to me at that particular moment in the context of that person's reading. So for example, and you're not going to see or focus on the same symbols every single time, even though in the chariot card there are similar symbols. But you might focus on the black sphinx over the white sphinx one day versus the next. Maybe you're focused on the spinning top that's in the middle underneath the wings of the chariot buggy itself. And what could that spinning top mean in association with your question? Maybe you're focused on the buildings of the city, and it looks like this person is escaping the city for the weekend, maybe, like just grabbing the sphinxes and taking off in his chariot, didn't even pack a bag. So how could those symbols that are popping out at you, or the story that you're telling on the card, like simply saying or assuming, where's this person going and why? What was the impetus for him getting out of the city? Or is he returning to the city? Is he coming or going? Though all of those tips and tricks can help to release the block that you might be feeling for that specific card. So again, I'm using the chariot here as an example because Katie brought it to our workshop and said, I have trouble with the Chariot card. But you can take those tips and tricks and apply it to the Death card. You can take those tips and tricks and apply it to the Tower card. We're going to do that in a couple of minutes, because those cards are the cards that I think of as the big bad cards of the tarot, because, you know, they have a very visceral association with them when they come up, because they are very striking. They're striking cards. They're sit up and pay attention cards, because, you know, they grab you visually. And you might be disturbed by that imagery, but if you weren't disturbed by that imagery, would you be paying attention? Would you be heeding the warning if it was a prettier card? Maybe not. So, Katie, does that help a little bit? Because really what tarot reading is, and I'm not trying to denigrate my profession at all in the slightest, but what really tarot reading is looking at the story on the cards and applying that to the question that you're asking it, or the question that the client is asking, or the situation that the client's asking about. And I do have a blog post about this. So if you're interested in that, just let me know, say blog post, and I'll go ahead and link that into the chat as well. Actually, I am going to find that right now. Because a lot of these topics that I'm covering and the free workshop series that we do every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is based on blog posts that I've wrote, topics that I've already written about, or frequently asked questions from you guys. You know, like how frequently should I get a tarot reading, or how do I do 3-card spreads, or how do I interpret this card when I'm having difficulty? All of these topics come from you guys, really. So let me pull this up, what I was about to do. Story. It's this storytelling aspect of the tarot that I find the most fascinating, because humans are natural storytellers. And because we're natural storytellers, we start telling stories even before we realize that we're telling them. Like internally in our minds, we start to tell stories, even if that story may or may not be true. Like, for example, projecting an assumption about what that person thinks of you just because they gave you like a weird look at one point. Like, you don't know for sure that that person is like thinking bad things about you just because they happen to squint at you wrong, you know, but we immediately start filling in the blanks by telling stories. We're natural storytellers. And so the tarot and the imagery in the tarot kind of plays into that very human aspect of telling stories. So I'm going to pull that up here. Hello, what's happening? We're talking about the big bad cards of the tarot. So Katie says, my way of reading is what jumps out at me. Yep, exactly. But I tend to feel the struggle of the card when reading it, but not the ability to associate. But okay. I tend to feel the struggle of the card when reading it, but not the ability to associate with the reading. I'm a little confused. Let me just read that one more time. Again, it's been a long week, folks. That's the reason why I did some of the astrology weather update for you guys. It has really been, and things that I could read easily is not happening quite as quickly this week because of the crazy week. This is specific to the Chariot card. Okay. My way of reading is what jumps out at me, but I tend to feel the struggle of the card when reading it, but not the ability to associate with the reading. So like the Chariot doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the cards that you're reading. Like I'm not quite sure what you're saying there, but I hope some of these tips helped. And again, if you guys are not feeling the struggle of the Chariot card and you're having difficulty with another card, please let me know. go ahead and post that in the section, in the comment section. And we're going to go ahead and look at another card that's based on what you guys want to look at. That's all for you. Okay, so I figured that was happening. So it doesn't, you can read all the other cards around it, fine. You can read the Chariot card in association, like it's in itself, but you can't seem to bridge the gap or the dissonance between the Chariot card and the rest of the reading. In that case, what I would do is I would look for common symbols between the Chariot and the other cards that are coming up in the reading, because maybe it's not the whole Chariot's message that needs to be applicable for the reading, only a part of it, or the part of it that is the common symbol. So that might be a tip or a trick that I could recommend, because, you know, like, for example, maybe the wings of the Chariot is saying something to you about you needing to have a vacation. And it kind of comes out of left field. But I mean, like, that happens sometimes too, where one card is not like the other and sticks out like a sore thumb. That might be an additional message that has nothing to do with the reading. It might just be something that Spirit is trying to tell you. It might be another person in the situation, or a message for another person that's in the situation. So there's many ways really to interpret that. But sometimes the Chariot, sometimes that card might not be fitting into the reading because it's not supposed to be fitting into the reading. It's supposed to stick out like a sore thumb because it might be a separate message that might be related to what you're talking about, but perhaps is not like directly fitting in. You know, like sometimes tarot doesn't fit in to the boxes we'd like to put it in. You know, sometimes tarot can be messy. Sometimes you could be shaking your deck and being like, what the hell are you doing to me? That's my experience with the tarot. So I see that my friend Melissa, again, one of my co-hosts for Card Slingers Coast to Coast, she's here, and she is also a professional tarot reader with a number of years of experience, and, you know, wrote this book over here, Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa Sonova. So I would love for Melissa to chime in on this when a card doesn't fit in with the rest of the cards in the reading. Got any tips or tricks for that? Dina says, oh, hold on. Dina says, Chariot not moving the reading forward. That's interesting, because Chariot can be about speed. It can be about motion and momentum, making those two sphinxes talk to each other and work together so that you can get some forward momentum going. That's an interesting comment. I like that. So Katie's asking, for example, when I see the Death card, I can see the ending and possibly bright beginnings with the rest of the reading. Chariot, so yeah, maybe Chariot's supposed to stick out like a sore thumb in order to give you another message, perhaps parallel to the message that you're getting with the reading, or it's related in some way, but you might want to sit on it too. You might want to sit on the reading and like sleep on it and see if it comes to you later on too. That's what it regularly feels like. The card does drive me crazy and jumps at me. I think we all have those type of cards too. And it doesn't necessarily mean we can't read them or that we're a bad tarot reader for not being able to make it fit. Sometimes they don't fit. Sometimes they are the sore thumb. Sore thumb cards. I should name the episode Sore Thumb Syndrome, right? So let us pull up another card, for example. So we're at 716. So I wanted to show off, but that's basically what I wanted to tell you guys is here's what I do when I have trouble with a particular card, especially like the big baddies of the tarot. First of all, don't shoot the messenger. Just because it's a big baddie card doesn't mean that it doesn't have a very valuable message. Sometimes, hold on, maybe driving you crazy is the meaning. Yeah. I mean, what's the phrase? Oh, you're driving me crazy. Driving, chariot, hello. Sometimes tarot can be really literal too, you know? So, and just see again, maybe there is a commonality or a common thread that you're not seeing, but don't drive yourself crazy about it. Ha 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 ha. Get it? And let it sit if you can, because sometimes if we keep coming at it, if we keep on like hammering it and like trying to figure it out, that's when things get even more tangled. So I would recommend giving it space, and that's a good tip in general. Give your readings, give your tarot readings a little bit of space, especially if you are reading for yourself. You know, like one of the biggest problems that people come to me with is objectivity. They are reading for themselves. They understand the meanings of the cards, but they can't get into that headspace to be able to read for themselves objectively. They're just like, I'm freaking out. Like, I can't get it to work. And so in that case, sometimes you're not meant to read for yourself on all situations. And that's when it's helpful to have a friend who's a tarot reader or likes to play with the cards, or go and get a professional tarot reading. Hey, you know someone right here in front of you. You can book a reading with me and we can figure it out together. Or if you have a particular spread that you've done that you want to make sense of the cards, I do offer tarot tutoring too. And you can send me an image of that particular spread and we can work it out together, because two heads are better than one. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you can't read for yourself because you're too close to that situation. But in the cases where you want to be able to gain that space of objectivity and it's not a really sensitive topic that you're too close to, simply saying, I am reading for a person that has the same name as me, that seems to really help bring back the objectivity, because then you're not reading for yourself, you're reading for someone with the same name as you. So like if I was reading this card for myself, I'd be like, oh, so my client's name is Hilary, happens to be Hilary, and this is her reading, you know, like it sounds real simple. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, that's not going to work. Try it and see if it works for you. It was actually really surprising to me. I'm just like, this is not going to work. And I did it. And then I'm just like, oh shit, it worked. So that's another good tip and trick. If you're reading for yourself and you need objectivity, just say to yourself, I am reading for someone that happens to have the same name as me. There you go. So any particular big bad cards that you really want to look into a little bit closer, such as the Death card, the Tower card. I feel like some cards are harder to read, not necessarily because they're hard to read, but because it's just a difficult message to hear, especially if you're reading for yourself. So that's my opinion about the big bad cards of the tarot. I also want to give you another quick tip about big bad cards coming up in your reading that seem to come out of left field as well. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find, like, for example, like, anyone have any problems with the Moon card? Let me know. I just like being able to project the tarot cards on the screen. It's cool. I like it. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to my BeLive software. Oh, here's another card actually that doesn't really get discussed, but it's not a very comfortable card, but it does have a good meaning. So the Hanged Man card is often like, people don't like it. Not necessarily because it's a negative card, because I don't think it's necessarily negative or inherently negative, but it's because the message of the Hanged Man is a little bit of surrender and sacrifice, that the big breath pause of the universe. Maybe you're being granted this time out in order to gather your strength or your resources because you're not going to have time later on. Or that concept of divine timing rather than your own timing. I think that's something that people really struggle with. And so then the Hanged Man gets a bad rap because of that, because they don't like to hear that message that we don't have control over our own pace or time. And sometimes the universe doesn't give a fig about what our sense of timing is. Like, oh, I need this job in 3 months. And it's just like, yeah, but the right job for you is going to be available in 6 months. So hang in there, baby kitten. Like, that's not a fun message to hear. And it's usually the Hanged Man that delivers that message. And so he gets stuck kind of being shot because he's the messenger. So Dina says, yes, never sure if it's positive or negative. And, I would really caution you guys not to have like positive or negative associations with any tarot card, because all of them can be inherently positive or negative. It's always about the context of the reading, like the Tower card. While a lot of people don't like to see the Tower card, sometimes it comes up to represent an epiphany or an aha moment rather than shit hits the fan. And I've seen it come up that way. So I know this to be true. Moon card. I was always then to say the Moon card is letting your subconscious give you the clues if there isn't any obvious other cards to help. Yeah, that's a great tip. And remember that the Moon card usually it's sometimes about secrets below the surface, but the Moon card is also present in the High Priestess card. When you see the High Priestess in the tapestry, if you look around the sides, you can see parts of the Moon card. So there's there's that symbolic link to show that those cards are linked in meaning as well. High Priestess card is about knowing what you know, intuition, deep knowledge, and the Moon card can also be a sign of psychic energy and needing intuition, and things are not quite the way that they seem to be. So sometimes we do need that intuition to step in to show us the way when logic seems to fail us. Speaking of the bad communication in the stars, I can't write sentences properly this evening, and I can't speak well this evening either. So, let's pull up, for example, the Tower card, just to show that. Hold on. Well, actually, let's do the Death card first. I am keeping an eye on the time, so let's. We can end on the Death card. I'm not superstitious at all. Let me see here. I like the Tower card just to be different. Okay. Oh, you like the Tower card. Yeah, actually, there are some people that love the Tower card so much that they actually have the Tower card tattooed on them. And I'm just like, wow, you're brave. And then she was just like, no, I know how to work with that Tower energy, that chaos energy. So having the Tower card tattooed on me, it's significant to me. So just like I have the High Priestess tattooed on me, it's just like, it's a direct line to the psychic hotline's open pretty much 24/7, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend. Sometimes you do have to have a little bit of a break. So Katie says, I think my life journey has been difficult. So when things get blown up, I see them getting cleaned away. That's a wonderful interpretation of the Tower card. I really like that, because the Tower card doesn't have to be like, that's the way of seeing the silver lining in the Tower card, because it's just like, yeah, shit hits the fan, the rug gets pulled out from under us, and but it's to rebuild a stronger foundation. So sometimes that energy can be very, very welcome. It's like karmic house cleaning, right? Let's look at the death card. Shall we? So, hi, Rosalind. This isn't the space for free readings, but just stay tuned, and I'm going to do the weekend forecast. Okay, so that's going to be a reading for the collective. So the death card can be very jarring when someone sees it, and people are just like, well, it doesn't really mean literal death. Well, sometimes it does. Sometimes it does mean actual death, but more often than not, it's about transformation. It's about mutation, um, mutation of energies from like the manure becomes the beautiful white rose that's on the Grim Reaper's flag. Like the battlefield has a king on it, but also children and a maiden, and then you see like the kind of popish figure in front of him kind of pleading, don't take me too. But it's just like, this is the evening playing field. We are all mortal, we're all equal. All of our coffins are going to be the same, or all of our urns are the same size. So it is kind of a humbling card to get, to remind us that life's short, and that we are immortal, and we are all mortal, and what are we going to do with our time on this earth? So it is a very come to Jesus moment, but it can be very beautiful as well. It can be very transformative as well. Notice in the background there, that looks more like a sunrise than a sunset. A new day is dawning. So yeah, see, Dina said that too. Sun is rising. So I hope this, so Dina is also saying, Everyday Witch Tarot has the witch waving her wand to blow up the tower and smiling in the Tower card. That's interesting. And that's another tip I can give you about difficult cards. And that's actually where I'm going to end. Let me go ahead and read Katie's comment first. I see it as new beginnings. Something has to end for a new beginning. It can be grief with change, but it can be a bright beginning. Exactly. Like the people that don't like the death card are frequently the people that don't like change, that fear change, and are like, they might be in an uncomfortable situation, but it's a situation that they know, and they would prefer the knowing to the scary unknown. They prefer the certainty of being in an uncomfortable situation, because it causes them comfort to know the situation that they're in. And I mean, that sometimes I give that interpretation when the devil card comes up, like the devil versus the devil you don't know. There are people that are very comfortable being uncomfortable because they know it. That's what they know. So let me give you one more tip before we move on to the weekend forecast. If you are having trouble with a particular card, and I'm reminded of this by Dina's comment about Everyday Witch Tarot has the witch waving her wand to blow up the tower and smiling. If you are having trouble with a particular card, and you do have the means to buy a new tarot deck or look at different tarot images online, go ahead and look at different images from different tarot decks of the Death card, of the Tower card, of the Hierophant card, and see if you can find a tarot deck that depicts that card in a way that makes sense to you, or makes more sense to you than maybe the Rider-Waite-Smith does. Because in that can bring understanding, especially in a person's artistic interpretation of what that card is. Like that's that artistic interpretation can provide you a new interpretation for a card that you previously had trouble with. So I'm going to give the example from my own life. I always have trouble with the Hierophant card. It's the Pope figure. It's like I'm going to pull him up just to show the Hierophant card. Hopefully I downloaded him, but I don't think I did. But he is number 5, I believe. Yeah. All right. Let's save him. All right. So here's the Hierophant card. And the Hierophant card is hard for me because I did come from an organized religion when I was younger. I did come from Christianity. And then as I grew up, it didn't resonate with me. I didn't feel anything. And I was very active in my church too. I served on the altar. I taught Sunday school. I even did a sermon or a guest spoke. So like I was going through the motions, but I wasn't feeling anything. And so to see the Hierophant card, as I switched from Christianity to paganism, and I am a witch now, it was hard for me. It's hard for me to look at the Hierophant card and see goodness in the Hierophant card, or because I was only seeing negative. I couldn't get past, that particular aspect of my own life. And that might be true for you too. There might be a certain card that you're having trouble with because you have to reconcile your past. But what happened was with that, the Hierophant card is depicted like this in the Rider-Waite, but I worked with Ciro Marchetti's Legacy of the Divine deck, and he had renamed that card Faith. And he showed 4 different faiths and them reading from holy texts from their faith. And all of the holy text writing went up in this pillar of light. And to me, that changed my relationship with the Hierophant card. And I could see the beauty in it, and I could see the interpretation behind it because I saw a different artistic interpretation from a different deck. So that would be my final tip for you. Look at different ways different artists depict the cards and see if you can glean some more meaning or interpretation from those cards that you previously had difficulty with. So if that makes sense to you guys, go ahead and smash the hearts and the likes, and let me know that makes sense to you. So Dina says, the major arcana sequences are interesting too. Hanged Man comes before death. Yeah. So, and again, remember that the tarot deck is full of Christian iconography and symbology. So that could mean the Hanged Man could mean Jesus. It could be a reference to the suffering or the sacrifice prior to the death. But notice, and also notice where you're mentioning in the sequence, where does death appear in the major arcana? It's not the last card. It's like kind of in the middle of the major arcana. It's numbered 13, but there's 22 cards of the major arcana, and the Fool card is numbered 0, and the last card, the 22nd card, is number 21, the World. If the death card was supposed to be so permanent, so then it would have been the last card, not in the middle. So, oh, yay. Katie says, I love that suggestion about looking at other cards. I am definitely going to do that. Good. And like, you don't have to buy new decks. If you don't have the cash to buy a new deck, this is what the Google's for. Like, do a Google image search for different tarot decks. However, I am going to caution you, if you do that, that might lead to a buying frenzy because you're going to see a bunch of beautiful, beautiful tarot cards and you're going to want them all. Like Pokemon, right? Got to catch them all. Got to buy them all. Yeah. Dina says the patriarchy there for the Hierophant card. And sometimes not only the Hierophant card, the Emperor card, sometimes I associate with the patriarchy as well. So I hope that helps you guys to not be afraid of the big bad wolves of the tarot. Oh, shoot. One more thing I wanted to say to you before we move on to the weekend forecast. So sometimes I'm going to hide the Hierophant card and put up the Death card here. So be careful. Yeah, Dina says, too many decks, so little time. Yes. So if you're asking a question of the tarot and you're reading the cards for yourself, and then you ask the question again, and then you ask the question again, and you start to get these really terrible cards, feeling like these are not associated with the question that you asked, but you're also fearful that that might be a part of the question that you asked. I want to let you know that what I found when I have had that urge to ask several times, well, are you sure, to the tarot, or ask the same question or the same type of question over and over again. My clients have experienced this too, I can tell you. And I'm just like, okay, we're done now. The tarot is getting snarky. If you asked the question and you got an answer from the tarot, maybe it's not an answer that you wanted, but it's still an answer. And then you ask again and again, and these big bad cards come out, like the Tower, Death, all this, and it has nothing to do with the question that you asked. Sometimes the big bad cards of the tarot come out to tell you stop asking the question. We already answered you. So I'm going to caution you, if you do see the big bad cards of the tarot coming up, it may be because you've been asking the question too many times, and tarot's like, bitch, you already know your answer. We already gave you your answer. Guilty as charged. That has absolutely happened to me. And I've asked around with other readers, and they have reported the same issue happening. So sometimes tarot gets a little bit snarky and is just like, stop asking the question. We told you. Okay? All right, now we're really going to move on to the weekend forecast. Thank you all for bearing with me there. I hope I gave you some awesome tips and tricks. Katie says, I feel that about people who ask you to do a reading every time you see them. Yeah, he loves me not. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was that person too, honestly. Like when I was a young tarot reader, that's all I would ask my cards about is, does he like me? Does he like me? Does he want to be boyfriend and girlfriend? And then I would experience all these bad cards and think, oh crap. And then things would work out fine with that person. But then I'm like, okay, why are these cards coming up? And then I saw it, and then I made the association. Oh, it's because I'm asking all the time. So yeah. Dina says, you are wonderful. You're wonderful too. Thank you so much for showing up. So let's put this in here. We've got the weekend forecast. The weekend forecast. Let me put back on the overlay. Make it all pretty. There we go. Okay. So like I said, we are going to be pulling. So this is for all of you that stay tuned to the end, who was asking me, can I get a reading, please? This is your reading. Take note. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can go ahead and do so at the web address below, tarotbyhilary.com. I am a professional tarot reader. That is what I do. Schedule a reading with me, and it just might change your life. So raise the roof. All right. So we are pulling a card from the Moonology Oracle Cards Guidebook. Well, Oracle Cards deck. This is the guidebook. It's a beautiful deck. You can find it. The publisher is Hay House Lifestyles. And it is by Yasmin Boland. And I think she runs the Moonology website as well. And I believe she came out with a book as well, or a couple of books. So now, keeping in mind, hi, Jennifer, keeping in mind that the full moon is this weekend. So remember, at the top of the episode, I gave you your little astro astro weather forecast. And if you didn't see that, if you're just tuning in live now, you can go ahead and watch the replay and get all of that information. But so the full moon is happening this weekend. We're already in its watery grasp because the effects of the full moon can be felt 3 days before, the day of the full moon, and 3 days after. Like it's powerful, and we're mostly comprised of water, so it makes sense that we are moved with the tides as well as people, as the oceans. So remember, we're under the effects of the full moon right now, but I'm going to shuffle up these cards, and these cards may come up with like a new moon in Pisces or new moon or super moon. That's not necessarily the astro stuff that's happening right now. Remember that this is an oracle deck. So just letting you know that this reading, this weekend forecast reading, might coincide or add to or take away from the effects of the full moon that's going on right now, currently. With that in mind, I'm shuffling up. What do we most need to know for this weekend? That's funny. So I don't know what the full moon is in this weekend, and I'm going to, which sign the full moon is in this weekend, but I'm going to look that up because we actually did receive a full moon card. But I don't necessarily know if it's a full moon in Aquarius, like the card is saying, for what is actually astrologically going on. So let me go ahead and look that up. And if this is exactly what the full moon is this weekend, I'm going to get really freaked out. Yes, I know that I'm a professional tarot reader and this is my job, but I'm still quite susceptible to the holy crap, that's crazy energy. Dina's saying the full moon is in Leo this weekend. Did I say that at the top of the hour? I probably did, right? Telling you, man, it's nuts. Full moon, full moon, full moon, full moon, full moon, full moon. Venus and Aries on the 7th. Full moon is in Leo. Okay. So full moon is in Leo on the 9th. Sweet spot for finishing creative projects, organizing presentations, and letting go of anything that holds you back from stepping onto the main stage. If you're fearful of being seen, this is your day to make peace with the cowardly lion so you can roar. And that, again, is from Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. Get her AstroBiz Digest. It is awesome. So, interestingly enough, we have pulled the full moon in Aquarius. So, this is really going to be a reading about being seen and being authentic while being seen, which is really, really scary. So this is the card that we pulled for this weekend's forecast. Show the world the real you. Full moon in Aquarius. Now remember, the full moon is actually in Leo this weekend. So we're going to use this oracle card and we're going to remember everything that I said just now about the full moon in Leo, courtesy of Teresa Reed. But this is going to be like a filter card to I guess maybe focus that that energy a little bit more towards I guess authenticity with the combo of that astrology and this oracle card. Got me? Okay. Yes, that's right. This is the opposite sign. You're absolutely correct. That's weird, right? Statistically, that's very weird. So this is, I know there's an astrology term for it. Again, I'm not an astrologer, but this is 6 months apart. So it's like diametrically opposed to each other sign-wise. But let us look at the full moon in Aquarius and what that means. Okay, so Full moon in Aquarius. This is from the companion book. Okay. Oh, and the sun is in Aquarius right now. Okay. Opposition. Thank you, Dina. I know. Like I said, guys, I'm a tarot reader. I'm not an astrologer. I know just a little bit of astrology. So Katie's saying it's also where the sun is at the moment. So the sun is in Aquarius right now, but the moon is in Leo. Okay. So from the guidebook, this card brings the message from the cosmos that you need to detach a little from whatever situation you're asking about. Again, what were we saying before about objectivity, right? Someone might be keeping you at arm's length now, but it's no bad thing. It's important for you to allow life to unfold and progress, even if change seems like a frightening prospect. If you've been holding yourself back from showing the world the real you, this card reminds you that your unique characteristics are what make you special. In a relationship, are you being too aloof or detached? Go ahead and be yourself in whatever is coming up for you. So full moon in Leo is about, rocking the stage, and letting the lion roar, right? And this card is telling us to be authentic, and be yourself. So be aware of your feelings, but also be prepared to move on. Don't lose the beauty and romance of life. You are too much in your head. Get into your heart. A friend needs you. Be there for them. And a situation is going to take a very unexpected turn. Teaching. So the addition of Aquarian energy to the mix triples the message of releasing and letting go that comes up with a full moon. Aquarius is the opposite of clingy, and pulling this card at any time suggests either you need to let go or someone is thinking that they're the ones who need to let go. Perhaps of you. Yikes. What needs to go? What is the right thing to do? Whatever happens next could be highly unconventional or unexpected. So there you go. Be authentic this weekend, but also expect the unexpected and maybe release what you need to release. Maybe release responsibility for the things that are no longer yours to control. Maybe you weren't meant to control them in the first place. So that is your weekend forecast, my baby kittens. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. I told you it was going to be a short episode, and we are here now at 7:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I got to go teach my tarot students. So, back to back classes tonight, and then I'm going to go to sleep because I need sleep. All right. Let me end this off with, where is my text on screen? All right. It's no longer the weekend forecast. We're done with that. So Dina, have a great weekend. Devon, thank you. And see you in the classroom in 10 minutes. I'm going to go hydrate. Bring yourself some water in your notebook. Katie, have a good night. Yes. So good night, everybody. We do this every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I teach you a tarot topic of your choosing. Let me know what topic you want me to cover, even if it's not tarot related, or maybe it's a divination related or about oracles. I've actually taught you guys about the differences between a tarot and an oracle deck. So let me know what you want to learn about, because I am here to serve you. If you want a reading with me, here's the web address. Go ahead and book a reading with me. I am Hilary, a professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with your own intuition, because yes, my friend, you have intuition too. Have a wonderful weekend and see you next week. Bye-bye.